at my age, I look at my trophy cabinet and think, who the hell was that? Because it's not this guy sitting here now.
Jim Nantz, I wanted to ask you about your pal. Do you have a favorite memory with him?
And Nance just waltzes in, sits down and goes, hello friends, welcome to the Masters. And I'm like, I kept bashing away. I never said, oh, I'm throwing this in, or I thought, okay, just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I mean, it wasn't a day fix, a week, a month, it was bloody 2 years.
Yeah.
And what have I learned?
Yeah.
Wow, lots of things.
Sir Nick Faldo, welcome to the Scoop. What do you have, double?
I've got double, whatever, chocolate chip. Chocolate's good, dark chocolate's good for you, according to all my TikTok doctors.
I'm big, I like to watch TikTok too, so I was very excited to sit down with you. So you did not take up golf until you were 14, right? And then you saw Jack in the 1971 Masters, I believe. Do you remember the first time you met him after that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I sure do. So we were at Troon, so that was 14, and by 16, Dad drove me to Troon for the Troon Open, 1973, the one that Weiskopf won. So I met Jack when I went to the men's room around the back of the hotel, and Jack jumped over the fence to avoid his adoring fans and to cut to the range, and he went right in front of me into the men's room, and he was the only one in, and he came out, and I said, and we didn't shake hands, and that was my first meeting, which, you know, so there's more to that story, but I'll stop there. But it's funny when people come up to you, like me, and go, well, you don't remember when we first met, do you? And you're like, oh, geez, you know, and you're all embarrassed for a split second, and this guy goes, we met at Heathrow baggage claim, and I'm like, you're kidding me. So I do remind Jack, do you remember when we first met? Because he the men's room at the back of the whatever it's the hotel at Troon, the Royal, whatever it's called, I think. So yeah, that was very first meeting. How about that?
Wow, and now you guys are old pals,
right? All the best places.
So I was just doing some reading up on you. You were at University of Houston briefly. How did you
for 5 minutes?
Yeah. How did you decide it's time to go pro?
Well, that's good. Yeah, I came back. I didn't like Houston. I didn't like college because I left school and went to the practice ground. That was the way we had to do it in Britain. We don't have scholarships, so I practiced every day, all day, and then suddenly I got to go back to class. You know, and some people are widely read and I'm thinly read, so it didn't interest me that. So I went home and I won. It's funny, I won a tournament up in Edinburgh called Craig Miller Park in March of. Can you imagine being up there in March? I won that, and it was like nobody was interested because I'd won, like, you know, when the English amateur British youths way back, Berkshire Trophy in 1975. I won about 10 tournaments that year, and it was like, oh, Faldo won another one. It was like, and my girlfriend's father said, well, why didn't you turn pro? And in those days, you had to tell our British PGA your intentions to turn pro. They had to have a meeting. So, but the funny thing was, I deemed I turned pro on April the 14th, 1976. And on April the 14th, 1996, I win my third Masters. So it's,
wow.
I guess I deem, you know, I'm a number man. I deem somebody was watching that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you have, when you look back at all of the golf you've played, your best high pressure round?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, when you're playing, yeah, when I look back now, which is because time's flying, and think, well, I used to go out there with the intention to try and win this major. And obviously, you know, you're leading at St Andrews and you've got to go out there and win it. And I think, wow, that's pretty cool, or pretty impressive to think you could handle all that. And that was me, and that's what I used to do. And you loved it. And so when you say to somebody, when you think of the whole moment of trying to do that, and the magnitude of that, and to think, well, you were just in the middle of the mix, and so what? It was all part of it. You know, I'm leading, great, so what? I'm kind of like, well, you know, you've got to concentrate and go and play and go and do your thing. And so when I look back now, which is 35 years later, and think, wow, that was me charging out there on the Sunday and believing I could do it. So that it's pretty cool. Obviously, I almost think there's two guys now.
Really?
Yeah, my age. I look at my trophy cabinet and think, who the hell was that? Because it's not this guy sitting here now. So it's pretty weird.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about, you did so much broadcasting. What was the learning curve like going from, a competitive player and now you're doing something pretty different, but still in the sport?
Do you know they throw you in the deep end?
Really?
They flat out, you put your earphones on, they say, well, that's your cough button. That's you if you want to talk to your producer, and off you go. We had zero guidance, zero. And I just said, you know what? My dad always said, just stick to what you know. Don't get involved in, politics or religion or anything. And I thought, yeah, I'll just stick to golf. Don't get carried away. And off I went. And it then took about 10 years later, then suddenly HR appears and all that sort of thing. But no, it's pretty amazing. You have to learn to train yourself. And that takes time, and timing is very important in that world. To stop and listen and wait, which is tough when you're first doing it, because you're like, I got, I want to do this, I want to say that. But as you learn, as you've been around, let it breathe. If it doesn't happen now, I can get it maybe in a few holes later or something. That thought. So you just learn to pace yourself. Yeah.
Jim Nantz, I wanted to ask you about your pal. Do you have a favorite memory with him, looking back at all your time together?
Well, those guys are just so. Well, my favorite memory is actually my very first Masters with him.
Okay.
So I've only done a month, on the West Coast. Then we all disappear, for March, and then we come back straight back in Wallop to the Masters. It's the biggest gig in CBS, and I went back to Butler Cabin, and then I had so cut a long story short, you do minimal rehearsing. You go down at whatever 2 o'clock, and you sit around, and I'm sitting there, and then suddenly I looked out and I thought, God, this is Butler Cabin. And so when you go in there in the days of winning, you don't see it's a studio. We got lights everywhere. You got computers. You got people. When you go in as the champion, because you're head sprint and you just, it's all a blur. It really is a blur. So I suddenly look out and think, wow, this is a blooming TV studio, and Jim's faffing around, and so we had this. So we had this time when we were doing the first time we were doing the internet as well. And to cut a long story short, like 10 minutes ago, Lance releases, everybody, if you need a rest break, go. Jim and Nick carry on. So we're still calling live golf through the internet, and we're down to 2 minutes to go. And Tiger's now going out the first. Of course, we're going to stay, and Tiger's now throwing grass in the air. We're down to 1 minute. We're down to 30 seconds. And then Jim, the only time Jim has a auto cue is maybe for those opening first lines of the Masters. That's the only week. And then Wallop, 30 seconds to go, auto cue goes down. So Jim jumps out of his chair, we're sitting in Butler Cabin, and Jim goes into the back room with, the sound technical stuff. And I'm sitting there and I hear 10 seconds, 5, in the world of our world, 5 seconds is nothing, is it? 5, 4, 3, 2, 8. But in TV, 5 seconds is monstrous.
Right.
And I hear 5, and there's no Jim Nantz, and I'm sitting there, and I go, oh shit, it's going to be me. I'm going to go, hello, I'm Jim Nantz. No, I'm not. I'm Nick Faldo. Well, I won this. Maybe I did. Welcome to Masters, CBS. Go. So I'm panicked. I had a split second of what the heck if he's going to. And Nantz just waltzes in, sits down, and goes, hello, friends. Welcome to the Masters. And I'm like, so that was my very first Masters. So I thought, yeah, TV is like, so I always say to people, don't ever complain when something goes wrong. You have no idea what's happening behind that picture with 3 seconds to go. Sometimes we are in a complete chaos. Other times, obviously not. But you have no idea what is happening when your picture pops up and
it's go time.
And you start complaining. But it's. So I thought for first go at Masters, that was like, okay, here we are.
That's great. I wanted to ask you about your virtual series for amateurs,
Yeah.
kind of grassroots, right? And getting amateurs in. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah, we're very excited because we've got a great partnership with TrackMan. And their technology is amazing now. And then, the simulators and what you have going and play in a golf course. And obviously they've got all their stats and numbers and all sorts of things, all that information. So we partnered up. And so they built us. So what I launched earlier this year was the Faldo Futures for 7 to 12-year-olds. Because after COVID, we've got a great sport. Mum and dad kick the kids out the door, go and play golf. It's healthy, it's safe, fresh air. And so they built for us our first, one and only, in the words of virtual Faldo Futures, the Web's Faldo series. So you can go to the youngsters playing 9 holes. So I think they're playing Wentworth or something like that. And then the other age groups can go and play St Andrews, and you've got Moonline Basin up in Montana where I live now. So the idea is we're starting that Jan 1 for 3 months. So basically, you go to any TrackMan, you click on, you can play as many rounds as you like, and then you post your score, and then the bottom line is, and that's global, which is a great thing. There's 35,000 TrackMans around the world. So you just get on a TrackMan and click onto the Faldo series, and up we pop and go and play. And then we will then take the winners from the virtual, will come and play in our grand finals. And we have 2 grand finals. We have one in Europe, which we actually have in UAE, just outside of Dubai, called Elaine, a little town. And then we have another one in Asia, in Vietnam, for our Asia side of the series. So we think it's pretty cool to just come along, just click on, play. You can play as many practice rounds as you like, or as many scores as you like. You keep lowering your score, and then you'll post your score, and then hopefully we're going to get a winner. But the quality of the screen now is so fantastic. So what we were trying to do is just get more kids interested in golf, because the simulator golf is climbing. More people are playing simulator golf, and we can get those kids out onto the golf course. That will be a good job.
Definitely.
Job well done.
I also wanted to ask you about your design company, and just what does it take? Like, do you think all elite golfers have what it takes to kind of help design a course, or what talent does that take?
No, I'd say, I wouldn't say all. No, I would say no. I think, I was, as you've heard through TV, I'm very fortunate, very visual, which I think you have to have, and you need to be able to visualize. And I enjoy that because we go to sites, and it's obviously not a golf course. There's mud and stuff out there, and you've got to go, oh yeah, I can see that. And then I have architects, so I'm like the vision, the strategy, determine the style and that sort of thing. And we go, and you wait till you get a theme or something, and then I try and translate that to my architects. So-and-so hole, how it does a bit of that and a bit of this. Well, I like that. And so you've got to be able to look at a pile of mud and go, oh yeah, that's exciting. There's a possibility out there. So I enjoy it. I've got a lot going on. I've got a couple of really cool sites. I've got one in Madeira we're dying to go and see. I went there about 15 years ago, and that, we got a 1,000-foot drop off the side of some of these greens down to the beach.
Wow.
So quite excited about that land. I'm big in Vietnam right now, and then trying to bring it more to America and to Europe as well. So I genuinely enjoy that. That's why I went into semi-retirement, to hopefully have a third career doing design work more.
Wow. And then my final one, I do this with everybody I interview. I ask them a low moment of their career, a high moment of their career, and something that they've learned along the way.
Oh my goodness. Well, the low was when I went through my swing change, which is 40 years ago next June. We started the rebuilding, and I went like that. And I remember calling that the dark days, because sponsors were leaving me and everything, and you're busting your what, and not making cuts or much money, and not enough, and that sort of thing. And I called those the dark days at times, because it was more getting news that somebody else had pulled out and that sort of thing. Only good old Pringle in my famous sweaters, they stuck with me through it. So I call that the dart, and that was tough. But amazingly, I never got completely down or depressed about it. I kept thinking, okay, I kept bashing away. I never said, oh, I'm throwing this in, or I thought, okay, just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I mean, it wasn't a day fix, a week, a month. It was bloody 2 years.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know where I had that. I thank Mum for that determination, I guess. So that was my low. And my high, of course, is, I mean, the first picture would be, so now winning at St Andrews, winning at the home of golf. I mean, that was 1990. I won the Masters in the beginning of the year. I hit the hole at the US Open to tie, and then I go to St Andrews on a mission, really on a mission to win, and I did. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's, when you get to the 18th green, they give you the claret jug, and you can imagine, and that whole image, it was amazing. So that was those two. And what have I learned?
Yeah.
Wow, lots of things. I mean, I think for us, well, I have two little things. One, I say, for your own health, mental health, I say if you can fix it, fix it. If you can't, forget it. You have to bin it. You have to delete it, because you can't carry baggage. We've all got tons of baggage, and if you can learn to bin it, and seriously, if you can't do anything about it, you have to forget it.
Yeah.
It's gone. I think that's quite useful in this day and age, and so it really does keep you in present time. And the other thing I've just really the great word I've learned now is you've got to enjoy what you're doing. You flat out got to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, change ship. That's very important, because it just makes everything fun, and I guess we're blessed that I played golf as a career.
Yeah.
Crying out loud, and I've loved it. And the other on a business side, double check everything, and your response. And but then the buck stops with you. That's a very similar. The blame stops with you. The buck, the last. That is again, that helps you, because if you can't blame other people, because otherwise you blame them forever.
Right.
But if you go, hang on a minute. If that some person or that thing didn't turn out right, you have to then say, well, hang on a minute. Did I interview that person well enough 10 years ago? And you go, well, no, I didn't. So, okay, it's my fault. I didn't do my research. And then it's done. Then
Right.
the problem's over.
Yeah.
But if you're, nothing worse than going back in time. You've got to live right now and enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Sure. How about that?
Yeah.
That was
really
good
appreciate
timing.
it. I think we got you just out, right? I saw your watch.
My ice cream is melted, but it's good. I got good chocolate lumps in that, which I love.
Yeah. Hello everyone, thanks for watching The Scoop. We have some awesome guests coming on season 2, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.